I thought I would dread carpool. Like everyone talks about, the carpool lane. I freaking love the carpool lane because it is 30 to 40 minutes of uninterrupted time where I can read a book.
He thought was going to be his end, and it gave him this purpose. And I think that's something a lot of people experience. You know, things that you think you don't want to happen, and they end up being the plot twist in your life that sets you up for all the good stuff.
For sure.
It really is your first clue that Asar isn't the terrifying villain you think he is.
He has a dog.
That he has Luce, and that she is so delightful and loves him so much. Hi, and welcome to Romantasy Remedy. I'm Whitney.
And I'm Kenzi. We're sisters-in-law and book besties who thrive on daily doses of magic and romance from our favorite fantasy stories.
So, if your emotional support animal is a dragon and your therapist has shadow powers, you're in the right place. Thanks for being here and for liking, rating, and following our show.
Before we get started, this is our official content warning. Simply put, Romantasy Remedy is a podcast for grown-ups. The topics and language will reflect that. Please listen at your comfort level.
And one more thing before we dive into the Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent, our spoiler warning. For most of the episode, there will only be spoilers for chapters 1 through 21. But at the end of today's episode, we will have our Spoiler Central segment, where we make connections to events later in the book and the entire Crowns of Nyaxia series. Don't worry, we'll give another big warning before Spoiler Central begins.
One of our goals at Romantasy Remedy is to highlight how books in this genre inspire readers. When we see characters facing fears, overcoming challenges, or growing into their potential, it helps us to do the same. So each week, we'll choose a quote from the chapter we read to be an affirmation, a phrase to empower and motivate us. So this week's affirmation is, my past does not define my future. Awesome. We base this affirmation on words spoken by Asar. At this moment in the book, Mische has just found out that Asar helped her friend, who she knew when she was still human. As they discuss this, Asar can tell that Mische is ashamed of some of her past choices, so he tells her the following. We all have ghosts in our past, Elie. We can't give them the power to define our futures too. Ugh. We love this because we all have regrets, and sometimes we just need the reminder that while what's done is done, future choices are still totally within our control. What do you think of this affirmation, Whit?
It's a good one. I love these words of wisdom from Asar. And side note, as I've been rereading The Songbird and the Heart of Stone, I keep thinking, man, Asar would be a great therapist. He's got a lot of these great gems, these affirmation style
He really
quotes.
does. So many.
If he's looking for another career path, I think that could be a good one. But I do appreciate this. I think that sometimes we have a tendency to ruminate over our mistakes and our shortcomings. And it's such a great reminder that anything in the future is within your control still.
Right.
It's a blank canvas, as they say.
Right.
So I love this affirmation. Such a good reminder.
It is. I agree. Asar, we could have a whole therapy session with Asar, and it would do the whole world good for sure.
It definitely would. Definitely would.
Well, keep listening to hear more about these moments from these chapters that either inspired, healed, humored, or wooed us. But before we get to that, Whitney's going to do a quick recap on what happened in this week's section of chapters.
Yay! I'm excited. I'm just excited to be doing this book. Are you excited that we're starting The Songbird and the Heart of Stone?
I know. I can't believe we're here.
I know. It's going to be great. Well, let me officially welcome you to The Songbird and the Heart of Stone, where Carissa Broadbent took our favorite sunshiny vampire and sent her on an emotionally devastating field trip through the underworld. Mische starts the book imprisoned by the Shadowborn, so Princess Ygritte can use her as a birthday gift for her father. Gross. King Raoul is ready to execute her until Asar Voldari, the broody Wraith Warden and the king's illegitimate son, shows up actually, I need her. So off they go to Morthryn, a beautiful ancient structure woven through the underworld. There, Mische meets Luce, Asar's skeletal wolf dog companion and immediate best girl. Then Asar casually reveals his plan to resurrect the literal god of death, Alaris, by journeying through the 5 levels of the descent, collecting relics tied to him. Totally normal travel itinerary. Meanwhile, Atraxis pops back into Mische's dreams after months of silence just to say, hey, quick favor, once Asar resurrects Alaris, can you kill him for me? Psh, men. Or godmen? I don't know.
Atraxis.
Bleh. So, the Underworld Hiking Club begins. We've got Asar, Broody Death Prince, Mische, traumatized sunshiny vampire, Elias, professional hater, Chandra, recently resurrected and very confused, and then Luce, still the best girl. They battle wraiths, zombie guardian birds, death panthers, and Asar's terrifying ex, while collecting relics from Alaris' love story with Nyaxia. In the Sanctum of Body, they get the branch of an obsidian tree, which Nyaxia used to flirt/stab Alaris when they first met. And in the Sanctum of Breath, they get the poppy petals from Nyaxia and Alaris' first kiss. Meanwhile, Mische keeps having dreams of her dead friend, Eomin, and Asar keeps quietly helping lost souls and risking himself for everyone else, which is deeply inconvenient because Mische is starting to realize the Wraith Warden might not be the terrifying villain she thought he was. In conclusion, the gods are scheming, the Wraith Warden isn't what we expected, and Luce is the absolute best girl in the entire underworld. Yay.
Gotta love Lucy. It will always be loose here at Romantasy Remedy, forever and ever.
It will. We respectfully disagree with the pronunciation, Lucy. Sorry.
If
We like
do.
loose. But we welcome, again, all pronunciations. It's fine.
It's so funny because we've talked about this before with reading it loose and then rereading this book. I listened to a lot of it. And so every time they said Lucy, I was like, wrong. It's loose.
Yes. So, loose forever. Best girl
Loose
of the
forever.
underworld.
Yes. Well, so as we talked about in your recap, Asar, Mische, Chandra, and Elias are starting this mission into the underworld. And there's a part at the beginning, right past Body, that Mische finds Asar trying to repair a gate in the underworld. As you discover Morthryn, it's an interesting world because it's not the underworld, but it's like, how did they describe it? Roots of a tree through the underworld?
Basically, if you picture like the building Morthryn sitting on top of the ground, and then it
Right.
almost has these hallways that are like tree roots that come down. So as
Right.
you descend into the underworld, there are
Right.
tree root hallways that you can like pop into that are still part of Morthryn. You like how my
Right.
hands are all over the place right
But
now.
it totally
If you're-
makes sense.
If you're listening, I know you can't see my hand movements, but they're kind of crazy.
Right. But it makes sense. But
We need someone to draw this. I should have brought like a pen and paper to diagram.
we need to start having like a
Another
whiteboard.
episode, perhaps. Yes.
Right. Well, in Morthryn, there's different gates into the different sanctums and different gates that are in different states of dilapidation. Some are in okay shape, some are not. And he is overrun with wraiths. And she manages to rescue him from this sticky situation with the help of Luce. And they're both in rough shape. Asar is obviously in worse shape. And they get back into Morthryn, and Luce drags them, and they end up in the tub with this magic potion that heals them, right? But when they both wake, Mische has some questions after all of this, like the race, Morthryn, this magic tub, all these things that are happening. She's like, what am I involved in at this point? And I love what Asar says to her in this moment, and it is going to be my remedy for this week. He says this: I've lived in Morthryn for a long time. I've carved out little sanctuaries for myself here and there. Sanctuaries. What an odd word to apply to Morthryn. Yet I had to admit this room felt like a sanctuary, like someone had lovingly curated it. This alone brought to my mind so many other questions. Had he traveled these paths before then? Why? I love this, because it's such a powerful idea, because while Morthryn is not the underworld, it's not always like a peaceful or safe place, because it is in a state of falling apart, as we discover as we read through the book. And so sometimes the wraiths get in, but he has chosen to create these small places where he could escape and he could go find peace. And I love it because I think that's what sanctuary really is, right? It's not always escaping life. It's creating these moments or places or mindsets, I think, that keep us going. because seriously, what they're going through, like we talked about, they're trying to resurrect a god and then Mische's killing a god. Like, there's a lot going on.
Some heavy tasks, it's no big deal.
Just a little bit. And I love that in this moment for them, this sanctuary is simply just the place where they can go and take a deep breath and find respite and heal. And I think a lot of us do that without even realizing it. We create little pockets of peace to help us carry through our hardships. Or I feel like I go through hardships often. We all have hardships, but really just like mundane day-to-day tasks. I think you still need like those moments of peace or sanctuary, right? And so I think it's also important to remember it doesn't always have to be a huge or permanent place. Sometimes it's just like these tiny things we create for ourselves, like a morning routine, us reading at night, for our
Totally.
sanctuary, but it totally backfires the next morning. Or
Listen, you can be grumpy because you didn't get to read, or you can be grumpy because you're tired from reading.
Right.
So just pick one. Just pick one.
I'll take the latter.
Yeah.
Right. Music in the car, which quick side note, Sleep Token. I went on a date with my husband the other day and they had all the Sleep Token vinyls at a store. And so I told my husband, I was like,
pretty.
They are so pretty. And so I told my husband,
And
I
they
was like,
just released that instrumental one for even in Arcadia. And I've never cared about buying vinyls or having a record player until I saw that. And I was like, maybe I do need a record player. Maybe I need one so I can buy this. What is wrong with it?
I don't think I would have ever thought about buying a record player either. We were gifted one. And so then I I have to have vinyls for the record player now. Anyways, they were there and I was like, hey,
did you buy one?
No, because they didn't have the one I wanted, but
is that the one you want or which one do you want? I'm curious.
I can view it. It's the one with Euclid and Rain and the summoning. I can see the album art right now.
Is that Take Me Back to Eden?
Yes,
that the title
it is.
of
That is.
Okay.
That is. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the only one they did not have. And so I was like,
Weird.
my first one needs to be that one because that's my favorite album.
Euclid. Absolutely.
It needs to include Euclid. But
absolutely.
Anyway,
so great.
Yeah, music in the car, a clean kitchen after a chaotic day, a workout, prayer, rest, time alone, time with people who feel safe. Anyways, these are all different sanctuaries we can create in our everyday life, right?
I love that idea. And I love that you pulled that from Asar's little sanctuaries in Morthryn, because I read that and I thought, oh, that's cool. But I did not even connect it to real life sanctuaries. So brilliant. Thank you. So good.
I have my moments, Whitney. Well, there's actually another part where Asar says this. When I was exiled to Morthryn, I thought that I had nothing left worth living for. He said, I was the bastard second son who was always lucky to be allowed to live. But I did what I had to do to earn something like respect, to build something out of nothing. He let out a bitter laugh, and believe me, I bled for it, Ilie, carved out my own heart for it, and I destroyed it all. I couldn't even hate my father for sending me here, because I deserved it. I was happy to let this place be my end. His gaze flicked up to mine. The light of his left eye pulsed faintly with his heartbeat, but it wasn't. It was a beginning. Ugh. I like this. So this is all found in chapter 13, and chapter 13 was just such a good one to me. And that line specifically is really important because I think so many beginnings in our life don't always look hopeful, like beginning a new career, beginning from a new move, beginning anything really, right? They don't always look hopeful at first, or they can be scary. And sometimes I think the things that change us often are things that start in grief, failure, heartbreak, loneliness, or really just feeling lost. Or at least I know that that is very true in my life. And Asar thought Morthryn would be the end of him, but instead it became this place where he really rebuilt himself and found purpose. And I think that connects so beautifully to the final quote I want to share, where he says, the world is built atop the invisible, abandoned souls. They needed someone. And honestly, I think that's another form of sanctuary too. Because sometimes we become sanctuaries for other people through kindness, understanding, just listening, showing up, and making others feel seen. And so Asar has created these sanctuaries throughout Morthryn to find peace and safety. But in doing so, he also became a sanctuary to so many others. Like, think of all these lost souls he's helped find their way through the underworld who are lost. Eomen, and I mean, countless others. Love Asar.
Absolutely. I love him too. And we'll get to more about that in a moment. But before we do, I want to, circle back to all these great
Yeah.
ideas you just shared. First, like the idea of like creating sanctuaries. You gave a great list of ideas of ways we can do that just in our everyday life. Like we were saying, music in the car. That's how Sleep Token came up, right?
Right.
Reading at night or prayer, meditation. Do you have a favorite one? Like, is it reading or is it Sleep Token? What's your favorite
Maybe a
sanctuary?
mix of both. No, it's so funny being a mom with kids in school now. I thought I would dread carpool. Like everyone talks about, oh, the carpool lane. I freaking love the carpool lane because it is like 30 to 40 minutes of uninterrupted time where I can listen to a book, read a book. Usually everyone falls asleep in the carpool lane. So it's just this quiet moment. I love carpool lane. I think that is going to that is one of my favorite sanctuary places, truly. And then also, talk about reading at night. I am a bathtub girly. I love a good long bath. The bathroom will also is probably my husband's favorite sanctuary too, if we're being honest. But the bathroom.
That's funny.
What
I'm
about
with you
you?
though. The bathtub is a favorite for
Yeah.
me as well. In fact,
Yeah.
my Mother's Day gift for my family was like this sweet new bath pillow. So,
Oh, awesome.
because they know that that's my jam
Okay.
is taking a solid bath with my Kindle. So,
Okay, so I have to tell you this. Our families are on the same page. I got a towel warmer for Mother's
gosh.
Day, and I was like, like that's an interesting game changer.
You're like, this is the best thing that's ever happened.
Right. It's
Okay, well then
wonderful.
on your next gift list, add this bath pillow and I will add the
Perfect.
towel warmer. We're just going to help each other
Perfect.
build the dream bathtub sanctuary.
Perfect. I love it.
Though our bathtubs are not magical ones that wash death away like Asar's bathtub.
It's not a silvery. What did they describe it like? The silvery pool and
Yes, but if I get you a sweet bath bomb from Lush or Buff City Soap, you
they
could
could
make
be
it one, I bet.
silver. Yeah,
Yes, totally. Totally. It might stain your tub, but it's fine.
it's worth it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one of my sanctuaries too, reading in the bathtub, but music in the car. It's
Yeah.
funny how you do find like those little pockets to carve out in your day and they become just kind of that little thing you look forward to and
Right.
find revitalization through.
Yes. Yeah. It's a good
Love
like
it.
recharging station.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then I also really loved this concept of an ending becoming a beginning, right? And how
Right.
Morthryn he thought was going to be like his end in his prison, and it gave him this purpose. And I think that that's something a lot of people experience. I feel like there's a country song about unanswered prayers or something.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
That speaks to this idea. But when just, things that you think you don't want to happen and then they end up being the plot twist in your life that sets you up for all the good stuff.
For sure.
So I love that
yeah.
Asar highlights that and that you brought it to our attention too. And then lastly, that idea about becoming people's sanctuary. That is so beautiful. So beautiful. Is there anyone, this is maybe too personal to ask, is there anyone that comes to mind for you that's been like that in your life or you've seen that happen in someone else's life?
For sure. Whitney. I think
That was
it's
the topic. I know we're fated friends. I know. And it's true. I mean, this is a sanctuary for me in so many ways. It's true.
For sure. I definitely have. And I think it's another thing with these remedies. It's like different seasons of life, different people present to you in different ways. And sometimes they are your sanctuary for whatever they need to be in those moments, right? I can think of several. And then like I can also think of some times where I feel like I have not like toot my own horn. I'm not saying that, but like I can also think of some moments where I feel like I've wanted to be a sanctuary for someone else when I know that they have a lot on their mind or a lot on their plate or just whatever, where I just want to be there for them, because I think that can be sanctuary for people in a way. What What about you?
Yeah. Well, I'm with you, and I think that that's how it's supposed to be. Like, I
Right.
know sometimes we feel like there's literally divine intervention or something taking care of us, but I think a lot of times it's through other people that we find
100%.
sanctuaries or we're taken care of. And so I know I've really benefited and appreciated when people have like gone that extra step to go out of their
Right.
way and do something to help me. Um, yeah, I don't think you forget those kind of
No.
things, and they are
And
super meaningful.
right. And kind of like Asar in this, I feel like with Luce being his best friend and she really was a sanctuary to him, I think that's how he found a way to be sanctuaries for other people. Cause I think it's like
Mm,
that pay it forward, like getting that, you want to give it in a way.
for
You know what I
sure.
mean? Yeah.
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 And as we learn more about Asar, there's not much we can say quite yet, but as you learn about him and his backstory, you
Yes.
kind of come to understand why maybe this mission resonated
Yeah.
with him.
For
So
sure.
very cool. And speaking of all of that, of Asar being
Yes.
who he is and doing what he does, I want to kind of talk about that for my
Yeah.
remedy today.
Yay.
Mische, she starts to realize that Asar is different from his reputation of the Wraith Warden. In fact, some may find it surprising that the Wraith Warden excels at creating sanctuaries. That doesn't sound like something he would do. No one is more surprised than Mische. In fact, let's go back to how Mische describes Asar back in chapter 3 when she
Yeah.
first sees him come in and he rescues her. This is what she says. Asar Voldari, the Wraith Warden. The story seemed more befitting of a myth than a man, even by the gruesome standards of vampire lore. They all ran together in my memory, grim tales of torture and spycraft, bloody tasks accomplished by bloodier means. Every king has someone to do their dirty work. He sounds super scary,
He
but
does.
and at first, when Mische starts interacting with him as they go to Morthryn, he does come off as kind of aloof and uncaring. And she definitely refers to him as an ass a few times. Then things start shifting once they're in the descent. Mische uses her magic at one point, her magic from Atraxis, to help Asar. And of course, she gets scars popping up on her arm right after.
Right.
And Asar then uses his Shadowborn magic to heal them. And it actually works. And so Misha's pretty surprised because she's tried so many things to heal these scars and nothing has worked.
Right.
And she expresses this to Asar that she's confused how his Shadowborn magic can be used for healing. Her
Right.
understanding of that magic was it's just like deceit and spying and
Yes.
bad things.
Yes.
And Asar says Shadowborn magic can bring the dead back to life. It's more than deceit and secrets. And so things start shifting. And everything you mentioned in your remedy with the magical bathtub that washes away death, that is part of the shift. Because when they wake up, Asar explains how he's repairing the parts of Morthryn that are becoming unstable since Alaris's death. And learning that, seeing Asar's curated sanctuary, it's really priming Mische to have this change of heart about Asar. What really does it, though, is when Asar helps her friend Eomin. And let's do a quick little recap of who
Yes.
Eomin is.
Yes.
In the Sanctum of Body, he's one of the Wraiths, and he was her human friend before she was turned. And we learn from the interludes and from Misha's POV that maybe in different circumstances, these two would have been romantic. Like they might have had a little crush on each other.
For sure.
However, she was too busy being groomed by Atraxis and becoming his child bride, so nothing could ever happen.
Ugh.
Anyway,
Ugh.
Mische sees him again when there are wraiths trying to break through the
Right.
broken gate. And Asar kind of notices she has a connection to him this time. And so he asks what his name is. Mische tells him. Then, not long after that, Mische has a nightmare with Eomin, and she I don't know if she sleepwalks or the magic of Morthryn summons her, but she ends up next to a broken gate. Asar finds her there and kind of pulls her back and is like, come with me. They go to this blood creek, and I guess it has the ability to check on specific people in the descent. So when Mische checks on Eomin, she sees that he is back on his intended path and he looks better. He looks like he's healed in some way.
Yeah.
So she's like asking Asar how this happened. What did he do to make this happen? Asar says, I help them when I can. Sometimes I'm able to lead them through the sanctum back to their intended path, help them onto the underworld. A note of shame imbued his voice. Shame, as if it weren't the most compassionate thing someone could do for another being, as if even attempting to help those who are so helpless to all others weren't such an act of bravery. So this obviously really touched Mische and all of us. I mean,
For
it
sure.
is so sweet and so cool. You pointed this out already, that he kind of takes on this mission of helping these
Right.
lost souls. And then Asar reveals that he actually talked to Eamon. Like, not only does he just like, at first I kind of pictured him just like redirecting him back to his path.
Like,
but no,
scooting
he
him through.
he took the time to talk to him.
Right.
And I think that's a lesson too. And Misha's even more flabbergasted. Asar tells her that sometimes they just need someone to listen. And I loved that thought. Speaking of a person becoming a sanctuary, Asar is showing you how to do it. And he goes on to share that Eamon told him bits and pieces about his life in the order and a truly perplexing information about boating. So he really did listen too. He wasn't just like blah, blah, blah. Like he really listened to what Eamon was saying. And then Mische, they have this awkward hug because Mische cannot restrain herself from hugging him out of gratitude for helping her friend. And at first, describes Asar as kind of like stiffening up, but he doesn't push her away. He lets her hug him. And after the funny, awkward hug, he says, it's a powerful gift to right a wrong. And I mean, that could almost be an affirmation, right?
Oh, for sure.
Therapist
Asar.
Yes, therapist Asar in action. Clearly, he isn't the scary death world monster that everyone thinks he is. And I loved watching Mische's view of him change, as well as my own, especially the first time I read this book. And it really made me think about how I might do this to people in my life, like how I might assume I know what someone is like, but I actually have no idea because I haven't experienced anything with them. Mische didn't know until she spent time with Asar, until she worked with him to solve problems, until she knew more about his past. And I think the same could be said for us. Until we have those experiences, we don't quote unquote know anything. It's all very surface level. And once you do have meaningful experiences with that person, your view might entirely change. So I don't know if you've experienced this before. I know
Fortunately.
I have. I know, right? Guilty as charged right here.
For sure. For sure.
And to kind of wrap up my thoughts on this, I wanted to read one more quote from Mische in chapter 13. I guess this is our favorite chapter from this stretch. And she says, Asar, I now understood, was like me, not because he was related to my maker or because he wielded a magic that spoke so innately to mine, but because he too was a healer. He had devoted himself to fixing the broken things that no one else saw. And I just thought that was really beautiful. I mean, it's worded beautifully, but also the idea of discovering something that they have in common. This person that she thought was basically a villain and a death monster.
Right.
She shares this deep commonality with. I mean, this is a huge part of who Mische is, being a healer and helping people. And now she's discovering that Asar shares that with her. So that's a big deal. And I think a big foundation of their relationship that develops as the book goes on. So I also believe we can experience this. We can find things in common with people that we may not even know about unless we take the time to get to know them. So
I love that you use this as your remedy, because I think it's easy to find our differences with other people and find the things we don't like or the things that we find wrong. But when we take the time to actually find the things that we have in common, I think you'll actually find more commonality with people often than differences, and focusing on those instead of and not judging a book by its cover. I love it. It's a good one. I want to also bring up with Asar how I love this change in how she views him, but also it's amazing to me how I don't know if attentive is the right word, but he sees things. He saw her reaction to Eomin without her even realizing it and knew he was someone important to him. It's just Asar, what word would you use? What word am I trying to
I
think of?
mean, part of it I think is being super emotionally intelligent. Like
Yeah,
he is very observant of the people around
observant.
him.
That's the word. Yep. He's just a very observant character. It's really, and we'll see it throughout the book, but
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to not be super wrapped up in yourself to be able to do that.
for sure.
And I mean, that's something I'm working on. And I don't mean that in like, I'm like, oh, like I'm so great. I don't think that's it. But sometimes I'm so focused on like what I need to do
Right.
to like, just to like help my family get through my day, like, you
Yeah.
know, like my to-do list.
Oh, for sure.
And Asar has a pretty long to-do list as well, but he is not so blinded by it that he doesn't notice what's going
Yeah.
on with the people around him.
Yeah.
And that is a really great lesson to keep in mind.
It is. I actually had an experience earlier this week with someone, and I was so impressed with how observant they were, and not just observant, but that they remembered. And it was just very impressive to me. And I'm like, how can I be better at doing that too? You know, seeing
Right.
what other people need, seeing what's important to other people, and then remembering that for the future. I was really impressed, and Asar is impressive.
Yes, he is an impressive specimen
Yeah.
indeed. I feel like we have definitely expressed our gratitude to Asar in this stretch of chapters for all of
Yes.
his great moments and great quotes. Are there any other characters that you would like to say thank you to?
We didn't talk much about our favorite girl, Luce, this episode, but we will. And she is the best. So I want to give a little thank you note to Luce. So here it goes. Dear Luce, thank you for being such a quiet reminder that loyalty and love can survive anything, even death. In a world as dark as Morthryn, your steady affection, protection, and devotion to Asar brings so much warmth to the story. And watching you slowly extend that same trust to Mische feels incredibly special. You may be a ghost dog, but somehow you feel like the safest thing in the entire journey. Dare I say, a sanctuary in your own way. We would follow you through Morthryn every single time.
Yes, we would. I love Luz. That's perfect. Thank you note for her. It really is kind of your first clue that Asar isn't the terrifying villain you think
No.
he is.
He
The
has a
fact that he
dog.
has Luz and that she is so delightful and loves him so much.
Yes.
Don't
she
you have
is.
dogs, so you could speak to this
Yeah.
more than me. I've heard people say that dogs are great judges of character. Do you think that's true?
Yes. My dog would lick a robber to death. So, it's a yes.
Clyde just
they
sees the
are.
good in everyone.
He does. He just wants everyone to be his best friend. He is the
He
sweetest
really
pup.
does, though.
But no, for sure. Dogs are man's best friend, and they say that for a reason.
So good. Yeah, Luz is an excellent side character. If you didn't see Kenzi's reel on Instagram about some of our favorite Romantasy side characters, you need to go check it out. And Luz is for sure on there.
Yes.
So she deserves every moment of attention.
There were so many comments about other ones, so we will definitely have to do a part 2 of the side characters. For
Yes,
sure.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, with that, we have reached the end of the main portion of our episode. Thank you so much for listening. Look for Romantasy Remedy on Instagram and TikTok. Also, check out the show notes for those links in the printable affirmation, as well as the soundtrack playlist on Spotify. I was working on that a little bit today, and I told Kenzi this earlier, but I recently went to a show, and it was a Josiah and the Bonnevilles show.
So good.
And have you ever discovered a band or a music artist at the same time that you're discovering a book or a book series?
Mm-hmm.
Because that is what happened to me with the Crowns of Nyaxia and Josiah and the Bonnevilles. I started listening to a lot of Josiah and the Bonnevilles as I was reading Crowns of Nyaxia for the first time. And so there are many, many songs that I tie to characters and moments. If
Please
you go
tell me
back
Ghost is on there.
Yes, I put Ghost on the playlist for The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King because I felt like it aligned with Araya's feelings about, I'm assuming you've all read this book, so about what happened to Vincent in The Serpent and the Wings of Night. So it is definitely on there. Anyway, all of this to say, he just released a new album that I highly recommend. And one song on there is called Hell Without the Flames. And I
Okay.
thought that was a great song to kick off this playlist, especially with like Mische not having access to her Atraxas magic for so long. And then Asar being basically the Prince of Hell, like being in the underworld and in charge of it. And then just the tasks that they're given and how heavy
Yeah.
it is. Anyway, it's a
So
good song.
excited.
So you can go check it out on
Yeah.
the playlist and
Love
just go
it.
listen to all of Josiah and the Bonnevilles. It was a great show.
You do so good at curating those playlists. You're very good at it. So I'm
Oh,
definitely going to go listen to that.
it's just a fun side quest of our podcast. So I'm here for it.
I love it. Well, we're really looking forward to connecting with you and nerding out over all the best romantasy. So after this, we're going to begin our spoiler central segment of the episode, which you should not listen to if you have not finished the entire series, including the rest of this book. You have been warned.
Say that again, Kenzi. What do you need
You
to do
have
to...
been warned.
Yes.
Stop
yes.
now.
If you have not read all of Crowns of Nyaxia,
Yes.
stop listening. Press stop. Okay, here we go. Spoilers incoming. So in this book, at the very beginning, we meet Ygritte for the first time.
Right.
And that is important because she has some things that happen with her in The Fallen and The Kiss of Death.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm especially referring to what happens to her at the end of The Fallen when we have that epilogue that includes Septimus.
Yes.
And he and Ygritte are together, kind of pledging loyalty
Yes.
to Nyaxia. So,
Yes.
and then I cannot elaborate on, but
Yes.
she also is a big player in The Lion and the Deathless Dark. So Ygritte's important, guys.
I really don't like her, so I hate that at the
Yeah,
same
she's
time.
the worst. She's the worst.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to know her, so pay attention as you meet her in this book. The second thing in Spoiler Central, Mische, when Atraxas finally shows up after ghosting her for however long, and he's like, hey, I need you to kill Laris. She is so, like, taken aback that she is going to kill a god. Like,
Right.
she keeps saying over and over again, I can't believe I'm going to do this. I can't believe I have to do this.
Right.
And it's crazy if you already know the ending to this book because you're like, girl, now you're going to kill a god and it's going to be that one. Like, it's it's
You're
just
gonna get
wild to think about her character arc if you've read the
She
ending.
has a crazy character arc. She really does, from meeting her back in The Serpent and the Wings of Night to like the end of this book. It's wild.
Yes, it's so
Yeah.
fun to watch the complexity of her character unfold in this book too. You know, she's
Yeah.
really, like we talked about in Serpent and Ashes, she's like the fun girl's girl, the sunshine vampire.
Yes.
But Asar, like, really, and I'm anticipating more conversations about this, but Asar just really helps her step into her own in this book.
For sure.
And yeah, she does kill a god. It's just not the one she thinks it's going to be. They go into the descent, and one of the first things they see are the guardians of the underworld. And this is such a cool detail. I'm not entirely sure what its significance is, but it's just a cool detail. The three guardians are a serpent, a bird, and a lion. And so if you look at the main duologies of this series, you have
Yeah.
the serpent in the wings of night, and Araya is referred to repeatedly as Little Serpent by Vincent. Then Mische is often referred to as a bird or a songbird, and this book is called The Songbird
Right.
and the Heart of Stone. And then we know that the book coming out in August is called The Lion and the Deathless Dark, and without going into detail, Kyrene is referred to as a lion in that book.
How observant of you. Wow.
Oh, man. As soon as I read that, I was like, wait a second. I have seen those three things before.
Wow.
I will be super curious to see how it unfolds in the final book next year. Okay, next thing. I'm going to quote something that Mische says. She says, I found it hard to imagine Asar prostrating in general. He didn't seem like the type who went to his knees easily, goddess or no. Now, the context here is she is talking about when he met with Nyaxia, she wondered if he, like, worshipped her in that way, like got on his
Right.
knees and worshipped her. But I thought it was funny because it's kind of spicy scene foreshadowing.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Yes, it is. Even with the worshiping thing.
Yep. Oh, loved that. Loved that. All right. Next, Mische compares herself at one point to a Pithora seed addict, and we learned all about that in Slaying the
Right.
Vampire Conqueror. And remember Naro and his
Yes.
whole journey with the Pthoricide addiction.
Yes.
So I thought that was
Yes.
a cool callback to Slaying the Vampire
Yeah.
Conqueror. Again, sticking with that theme, there's a wraith that they see who has a blindfold on at one point.
Yes. I
And I'm like,
highlighted that.
it's an art
Yeah.
cousin. And I'm like,
Yes,
maybe
yes.
it's the Sight Mother
Oh,
because Atreus killed her.
I hope she's stuck
Just
in
circling the descent
descent
forever.
Yes, she
Yeah,
deserves
don't
it.
help her, Asar. She doesn't
No.
deserve your help.
No, not at all.
That's funny. That's super funny. Sight
Yeah.
mommy. We hate her.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the second sanctum that they go to, the Sanctum of Breath, when
Yes.
one point where Mische is trying to navigate the hallways, I think this is after they encounter Asar's ex-girlfriend for the first time, and he's kind of
Yes.
dealing with her, and so Mische goes off by herself, and it's kind of like a maze. The hallways are crazy. And she makes a comparison to the second trial of the Kajari. Do you remember the death maze in the second trial of the Kajari?
Yes.
Where that's when Araya comes across the human child and all of that business. But Mische has a thought here about that trial. So that was a cool callback to the serpent and the wings of night.
Okay, so I just had like this crazy thought when we're
Tell
talking
me.
about the temple and Asar's ex. The fate of Ophelia would be great for the playlist.
Yes. Thank you. That's a great suggestion. I'm going to put it on. Thank you. Because he really does rescue her from being the fate of Ophelia. I can't believe I didn't think of that. See, you need to build the playlist with me. Okay, so after that experience with Ophelia,
Yes.
when there's an argument that happens between Elias and Asar, because Elias knew Ophelia when she was alive, knew the whole history there, and contributed to her death, we assume.
Yes.
So he has this argument with Asar, like, is this why we're doing this? Because of her?
Right.
And during the argument, he kind of brings up that things are shifting with the vampire houses. And he says, oh, the House of Blood just conquered the human nation. So again, we're calling back to Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. He mentions Glea by name. So I was like, oh, hey, Atreus and Selena, there you are. Thanks, Elias. But he's all playing it down like, whatever. It doesn't matter. That place doesn't matter. I'm like, oh, it matters. It's going to matter in the future.
And Elias is just a scumbag.
Yeah, he's dumb.
Yeah.
Dumb scumbag. All right. And then the last thing I have for Spoiler Central today, in chapter 20, Asar says, so, okay, context here. Mische is concerned as they're collecting these relics about someone misusing them, the way that Alaris's teeth were used in the Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. So she is expressing this to Asar, like, you cannot use these things for, like, ill purposes. And he assures her that he knows better than to mess with great powers. But that's hilarious because in The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk, he messes with a lot of great powers.
Just a couple.
Just a little bit. This is his direct quote. He says, I'm no fool, Ilie. I have enough marks against my soul as it is before tampering with forces that destructive. And I'm like, my, how the turntables have turned in The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk. Because you're like, sure, give me the death mask. That's fine.
Like,
whatever.
Hey, let me remind you what you said,
Yeah. But I think the difference is, Mische assumes that what happened in Ashes was motivated by, like, getting power, right?
Right.
And it was definitely, from Simon's perspective, he was all about trying to get the power. But Asar in Fallen, that is not his motivation. Mm-hmm. His motivation is saving Mische. So I think that's the big difference. I think the only reason he's willing to tamper with the gods and all their stuff is to save Mische. So.
Right. He wasn't trying to harness that power for himself. He was trying to use it in a better way than Simon.
Totally. It's just funny to read that sentence when you know what's coming in The Fallen, the Kiss of Dusk. You're like, oh, that's funny that you think that. Sorry.
Right.
You're
that
like right 99.9% of the time, but this time you were not right.
Hey,
so
sorry, you need to listen to your own words. Actually, don't rescue Mische. It's fine.
Yes.
But hey.
Yes. Well, I mean, and we'll talk about this when we cover Fallen, but that's like the whole thing by the end, right? It's like, you were the sacrifice I wasn't willing to make. And that's where
so sweet.
Up. So good. Okay, well, that's all I have for Spoiler Central. So
that's a good one.
That's a wrap on episode 1 of The Songbird and the Heart of Stone.
Awesome.
It was a good one.
It was a good one. I'm so excited to be in this book. I love your Spoiler Central part about the the serpent, the songbird, and the lion, I think that is a connection I would have never made. So very, very well done on that.
It's a fun
Impressed.
one, right?
It is a fun one.
Glad
It's very
you
intriguing.
liked that one.
Yeah, I do. But
it could
anyway.
mean something. It could mean nothing, but it's
we'll
there.
pretend it does
nonetheless.
for right now.
All right. Well, Kenz,
But-
thank you for having this book chat with me
Yes.
as always. It's
Always.
a blast.
Yes.
And we'll do it again for the next part of the Songbird and Heart of
Yes.
Stone.
See you next
Okay.
week.
I'll see you then.